Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and the topic today has to do with the secondary market between Mac and Snap-on. Now, both of them are well-known tool brands. However, Snap-on seems to retain considerably more of its initial value than a Mac tool, at least from what I've learned. I was talking to some pawn shop folks, and it turns out that Mac, and in fact I did get this at that pawn shop, that was how I ended up talking to the people there, this sells for about $145 new, probably less off a truck if you can find one, and this is an 18-inch adjustable wrench. It does not say where it is made on here, and I got it for 45 bucks. It's fairly good condition. I mean, actually almost new except for a few marks along this edge. I also picked this thing up. This is a Snap-on Dual 80. Beautiful smooth ratchet. And it's kind of that speed handle, so you can literally speed things. It's the old school. It's how we used to do stuff back before we had, you know, all these fancy, you know, impact drivers and electric or battery tools. Oddly, it was at the same shop where I got this one like 6-8 months ago. So I think what's happening is some old timer is selling off his stuff slowly. But anyway, this one was 100 bucks, actually 95, and I thought that's not too bad. It sells new for 195 off the truck, but that's about half price versus about a third of the price. And I think what retained the price here also was the condition, and it was unusual. It caught attention with that big Mac logo on there and being such a large tool. Now, here is a Mac tool. You can see that. And this is kind of what led to the discussion. And I ran into this. I got this like 10 years ago or more at a pawn shop in a set of tools. And this is personal experience. Kind of the same thing that I think what the pawn shops are feeling is I got this with about 5 or 6 other different kinds of pliers, and I thought, oh wow, yeah, Mac tools must be good. I don't know, I think I got the set for like $80, you know, so I was thinking, wow, that's only like 10-12 bucks a plier. Well, anyway, when I finally get around to looking it up, I realized that the whole set was like 100 bucks. And they were made overseas. Well, this doesn't say where it was made, and what's happened is it has caused the secondary market to be skeptical. So even though you might have to pay Mac prices, you're not going to get Mac secondary value out of it, or it's not going to retain the value. Whereas the Snap-on, to me, if you can get it for less than half of what it costs off the truck, that's when I start listening, and that's for a good condition tool. And I have not seen one of these on the truck. I assume you can order them, but it's an unusual tool, and that's what catches my eye, is stuff that you don't see very often, maybe because it's archaic or just it's so expensive for, well, I mean, there are other kinds. I've done, you know, videos on these type, you know, where you can get some sort of a speeding, or you can buy the speed handle, you know, and then transition to a ratchet. In other words, this really doesn't have a huge amount of value for most people. I got it, you know, kind of as a novelty, try it out, and I do really like this one, but in all honesty, I generally don't have it with me when I need that 1/4-inch speeder. But going back to the point of the video, I think Mac has kind of undermined its inherent value simply because it's not marking where it's from, or even on the website. I mean, it's of zero help. And that you can get some really inexpensive Mac branded tools. I think this was in a special set. That's why it was so inexpensive. Maybe back then Mac was testing the, you know, the Asian market water or Asian manufacturing waters. But, you know, I just find that having something you know, that says Snap-on USA, this is going to have value to somebody. Might be me, might be someone else, whereas this is questionable. I just wanted the hugeness of this wrench. The largest adjustable wrench I have is about 15 inches. This is, Usually I transition to a pipe wrench of some kind or monkey wrench. But I thought this would be fun to explore, something this large. But it it goes back to my point of I wouldn't have paid. I don't know if I would have paid $50 for it. Too many unknowns. Even though I did look it up on my phone at the time, and it was $145. This thing, I knew I wasn't going to run into another one anytime soon. And even if you find them on eBay, and the 36 tooth version, they're still commanding a huge amount of money. And I was thrilled when I got this one. And again, that's the fine tooth as well. So the chances, I've seen two of these in my life in pawn shops, and here are both of them. Maybe you've got bigger, better pawn shops than I do, but that's something I jump on. The Mac tools, I usually don't even bother looking unless it's, some cool vintage something or other. But otherwise, I just don't think they hold their resale value. They definitely probably hold their utility value. That's a whole different equation. But if you're thinking about trying something, or maybe you want to have a, snap-on ratchet, but then maybe sell it and do something else, you're guaranteed something here. That's just how the market seems to work. With Mac, that you might have to find some old-timer who doesn't realize that there may be some significant questions as to the origin, but a lot of them know now. And having something like this doesn't mean it's a bad tool. It just means nobody's going to give you much for it. And that kind of reminds me of the Icon stuff in pawn shops. Mac is better than Icon in resale, but not by much. Hate to say that. I know I'm going to get yelled at for saying that, but that just seems to be what's going on. Unless it's very, very particular tools. But otherwise, it doesn't seem to hold its value. And that's too bad, because I believe it used to. Because, here I'm on my Mac toolbox here, and I love this thing. But some of the new stuff, I'm not that interested. And with that, Doc out.